Hey, this is Andrea Benton from Raisingboys.tv, and I am super thrilled today to be interviewing Dr. Rob Bell. He is a prominent sports psychologist, coach, and he has a new book out, which I am really interested in getting my hands on. It's called Don't Should on Your Kids, Build Their Mental Toughness. And for me, this is a topic that I'm actually really interested and passionate about because I have two kids, and one is definitely maybe a little, I want to say weaker, but he could use some more mental toughness, where my other son is, he's got all the grit he needs. So I am definitely interested in learning more strategies to help my kids become more mentally tough, because I think it's an amazing life skill they should know. So my first question for you, Rob, is how can I make my child more mentally tough when it comes to playing a sport?
Right. Great question. We come out of the bat with a good question. I think, and again, it's really not a one-size-fits-all. And when it comes to mental toughness, we've got to think about it like this, is mental toughness is simple, but it's just not easy. Mm-hmm. And so what I mean by that is mental toughness, it's also caught rather than it's taught. So we've got to be put, and we've got to be allowed to be placed in situations where we can struggle, where it's going to be tough, where we have to persevere and show that resiliency. And to be perfectly honest, the toughest part is then allowing our kids to fail and how they respond to that. Can we give them the perspective to deal with it and how to get better? Or do we just rescue it in and sometimes we blame others or just, dismiss it completely? And that's not how we get mentally tough. We get mentally tough by really just dealing with the struggle and coping with it, and how do we handle it? And that's the skill. That's the skill that lasts way beyond when sport is over.
It totally does. So then here's a question. So my son will typically say, I couldn't score a goal because the guy took the ball off me. So to me, that's a bit of a cop-out. And what you just talked about is, so how do I kind of change his mindset to say, hey, you know what? The onus is on you. It's not the other kid.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's absolutely a great point. And a lot of times, the things that we'll say is and it's always about timing. I think parenting is all about timing. And so one of the things, they've got to be open to receive it. And so it's kind of like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Okay.
If we're constantly giving them feedback, they're soon just going to tune us out. But if they ask, be like, well, what do you think? Because if they come back with excuses, stuff like that, a lot of times we'll be like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that could be a lot of it until they come back and boy, it seems like same thing keeps on happening. Like, what do you think?
Oh, that's good.
And I really think a lot of times is asking them questions and saying, kind of meeting them where they are. Be like, well, what would you do different next time? And what can you learn from this kind of situation? Things we stress in the book is it's not who gets there first. It's who can get there and stay there. So what we've done in sports, especially youth sports, is we've stressed like how good an 8-year-old is or how good a 10-year-old is. And if you look at the best 10-year-old in the nation right now in any sport, they may or may not be the best 18-year-old.
Interesting.
And so the key is can we keep getting better and not freaking out at the mistakes or the failures early on, but just keep getting better, because they're going to get it at some point. Again, it's going to get caught. They will get it. And that's where the patient comes in, I think, on our perspective as parents.
Yeah, okay, and I really appreciate that, you saying that, because that totally ramps me down, because I think, okay, it's not now, think about when he's 18 or he's 14 or he's matured more, right, or he's more physically able to do more stuff. It should be more about that. It's a gradual increase as opposed to you're shooting up immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And 100%. And I think, and that's actually the better part, is when we have the late bloomers, they and they are mentally tough because they've dealt with the failures early on and how to struggle with it. If somebody has talent early on and they're beating everybody, no matter what the sport, when they're not as good, they really struggle.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. This is awesome. I'm learning a ton. Thank you. This is fantastic. All right, so moving on to my next question, the do's and don'ts of the infamous car ride, which I love. Right. I love that, because I'm pretty sure my husband and I are always chirping and saying the wrong stuff.
Sure. This really came to light, and we put it in the book. This came to light because there was a swimmer that I was working with, and, in sports psychology and mental training, and it totally changed for her when she got her license. And everything in the outlook, and it didn't dawn on me that now she's driving. Like, she doesn't have to hear about times, about the comparison, and about, how she can get better on the car ride home. And if you just add that up with, 6 car rides a week, that becomes a lot of messages. So the key is this, is we can talk about anything except the game or the practice on the car ride home.
Okay.
And the reason why is because, they're sometimes, they're tired.
Yeah.
If they didn't perform well, they don't want to talk about it. They're dealing with it, and they're very vulnerable at that time. So we kind of call it like, it's a metal coffin.
Mm-hmm.
They can't escape. They can't breathe. There's nothing they can do, and all they're hearing about is from parents about what, how to get better, what we need to do. And this is the thing. Like, I've worked with athletes, coaches, and teams my entire life.
Okay.
On mental training and mental toughness and sports psychology. I've never had an athlete that has told me yet, you know what, I just missed that shot on purpose.
Fair enough.
They've never said that. So they're trying. But the reason why the car ride home, we can talk about anything, is the conversations are going to be a whole lot more beneficial when we set up a time when we get home, when we can de-stress and decompress. We're actually going to get more back from our kid. The conversation is going to be better. They're not going to dread the car ride home. And the interesting thing is this, is what I've noticed in my own life, is I kind of forget what the main point was of what I really wanted to stress. I had to go back and search the files and be like, what was it that I was really worried about there that she wasn't going to get, but she needed to know?
Yeah.
We kind of forget.
Yeah.
And but the conversations go a whole lot better.
Okay. That's fantastic. And I appreciate that too, because I definitely know my husband and I have chirped a lot, and we often wonder if it really sinks in, and you've just proven that it's not. So we're going to talk, we'll schedule another time, or we'll talk about when he's fueling up, or it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, the beauty about the conversation is this, is when we have the conversation with the son or the daughter about the car ride home, they have to agree that we're not going to talk about it. They'll agree to that part, but they have to agree that, okay, well, you have to give us more feedback when we talk about it after, when we get home.
Yeah.
And now, we've got more of a partnership going.
That's yeah, I really appreciate that too, because that is what I notice, is my son does tune me out a lot, and I think, okay, so if he's tuning me out now, how can I re-engage him to talk about his performance? Not that, he's done anything bad or anything, but I just want to find out how he's doing, and
That's right.
Does he still like it? He's playing soccer 3 times a week. Are you still game? I mean, I don't really know, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's okay. That's fantastic. I love that. And let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to ask, since this is super exciting? I love this conversation. So what would you say to parents that have teenagers? So, are there some things that, and this is a curveball, I know, are there some things that, some advice you would give them? Because from what I understand, so my kids are, 6 and 8. When they hit U13 or U12, things start to shift up to a much higher level. In terms of expectations. So what advice would you give those guys?
It's a great point. It's a great question. It's not who gets there first. It's who can get there and stay there.
Okay.
And when the pressure, I guess, ramps up a little bit, I think our job as parents is to be supportive and not vicarious. So what I mean is being supportive, but not living and dying off every shot or every game or winnings or rankings or how they're doing or what's going to happen in the future and what this loss means or what this win means. It just becomes way too complicated, and that's just not any fun.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is, when we talk about it in the book, we said we've got to ride the carousel, not the roller coaster. I mean, the carousel is a bit boring.
Yeah.
It goes around and around, but it's not up and down. We don't have the highs and we don't have the lows. And I tell you what, for teenagers too, it's just enjoying the process, because they're going to be gone. You can see the finish line.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. So, man, let's really enjoy it.
Okay, that's awesome.
I can't tell you how many parents that I see, at the high school level, even college level, and they're crying at the end of the season because it's over. It's
over. Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. I love it. So, all right, so where can I learn more about mental toughness? Because this interview rocks, and I'm going to go buy the book. So where do I buy the book, or where can I find more about it?
Well, yeah, here's the copy of the book.
Oh, okay, nice.
So, don't shoot on your kids, build their mental toughness. My website is drrobbell.com, and we've got a a newsletter that goes out every Friday on mental toughness.
Oh, fantastic.
And they can buy any of my books there. So this is the fourth one, but this has been the most fun.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much for doing this. I'm Andrea Benton from Raising Boys TV, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.